A warm welcome to all the panelists, and this being the final session for the day, Retecon Online 2021. We heard the previous presentation, and where the speaker was talking about the potential for e-commerce in India. We are going to see 3x times the growth, and it's going to touch close to 140 odd billion dollars by the year 2026. And that's where the growth is, and especially in the categories like food and grocery, education, healthcare, etc. So we have seen in the last 1.5 years that the humongous transformation that has gone. We have seen the business models that have been redesigned, and we have also seen how FMCG players have come out with shining colors in not only for the performance, but aptly understanding the consumer and aptly understanding the trade, and how they have coped up and risen to the opportunity that this last 1.5 years have presented to us. The e-commerce opportunity from a FMCG perspective. Today we have got three eminent panelists with us, and I would like to ask. This is a common question that I would like to ask all three of you, starting with Aditya. That if you can just give a brief about succinctly about the last 1.5 years, and some intro about the organization also in the current operations perspective, and then we can take it to the next level so that we can set the context here. Aditya, over to you.
Thanks, Dr. Hitesh, for having me on this wonderful platform, and really excited to listen to such eminent co-panelists, Rahul, Amitabh, and to begin with, I think Devajyoti, who sent us through his recorded message. Echo with him, and just to tell you, I represent Kellogg and the organization, which is a global MNC, and the purpose which we stand for is creating better days and a place at the table for everyone through our trusted food brands. I think the last 1.5 years, Dr. Hitesh, I think was just like for any other food and MNC organization, were very, very tough, very, very unprecedented times which we all faced. The first phase, if I look at of COVID, I think we were unprepared, I would say, typically talking about the foods and beverages space. And we were largely hit on the supply chain side of it, right? So in 2020, there was a vacuum for the first 60 days when we were all struggling regarding the supply side of the manufacturing side, the supply side. However, I think this time around in 2021, when we were struck with the second phase, though it was also unprecedented, and the way it really came back so strongly and impacted almost everyone around us. But in terms of the business side, on FMCG side, I think we were quite prepared about on maintaining the avoiding the disruption in terms of supply chain, and that's what we saw, that the way FMCG behaved. Particularly our organization, I think our organization approached it through a very, very hyper local approach, Dr. Hitesh and everyone. We were all empowered because there were nothing which was schematic or working in tandem. So there were situations arising in some parts of the country, the other parts of the country were behaving exactly opposite, right? And hence people were given empowerment to take decisions at a very, very hyper local level, which helped us, right? Secondly, I think the organization, as an organization, we focused on making our aspirational brands more affordable, and that strategy worked for us, particularly in the general trade environment, where there were a lot of migrant laborers, there were a lot of daily wage earners which got impacted, right, that population. So we made our brands actually affordable, and we launched in this period itself our cornflakes in the range of rupees 10, right? So, and making aspirational brands affordable, I think that worked in favor for us in terms of gaining household penetration, right? And on the other side, what we did, we made sure that we were offering the right value to our existing set of consumers, right? Especially in the modern trade and e-com side, right? And by balancing this, I think we really got very good results, and we could steer the pandemic. The third thing, as I was, which we witnessed and which we really were able to tap, was the tailwind around e-commerce side, right? And we all saw that e-commerce booming, on every category, every sphere, particularly in the grocery and food side, and which we were really, really able to tap it by really having the right kind of investments in that particular space. We continued our innovation journey, Dr. Hitesh and everyone. We never stopped our innovation journey, even during the pandemic times. And just to tell you, we recently launched one of a very, very big brand, which is Fruit Loops, right? You're asking something. Yeah.
No. Please carry on. We can.
The last point is, I think, which worked in favor of us was the continued focus on our own people. I think I'm really, really thankful and blessed to be working in such a great organization. I know there have been several organizations which worked around it, but this approach, I think, has helped many organizations. And particularly if I talk about Kellogg's, the continued focus on our own people, which is the strategy called people over profit, I think that really, really helped boosted the morale of the entire organization and worked in favor of, driving the pandemic into the gain side. So that's all about from my side, Kellogg's, and to begin with.
Thank you, Aditya. I think this was a very good beginning, and you spoke about the three phases. One is the supply chain side, where you were, completely, everybody was, completely unprepared. The kind of load that had come in during that time, and obviously you were subsequently ready for the disruption as well. You spoke about affordable brands, making it more affordable, modern trade, tailored around customer requirements and needs, and focus on people, etc. I think we'll touch upon these and many other such areas as and when we take our discussion ahead. Let me move to Amitabh. Amitabh, how has the Dabur journey been, from your perspective in the last 1.5 years? Maybe a brief summary from your end.
Thank you, Dr. Bhatt. So Dabur's journey has been very interesting. As you know, Dabur is, our motto is dedicated to the health and well-being of every household in the country. We are one of the oldest organizations, a 136-year-old legacy, which is based on science of Ayurveda. So I think it has been a very eventful journey, which came with a lot of learnings, a lot of insights, because we are a very different company, which is into multiple categories. So may it be healthcare, which includes Chyawanprash, honey, glucose. Then we have hair care, which includes Dabur Amla hair oil, Vatika hair oil, Anmol hair oil. Then we have a shampoo portfolio, which is pretty huge. Ayurvedic shampoos, Vatika natural shampoos. Then we move on to the home care side, which is again a very huge portfolio of hygiene as well as health products. Odonil being one of the key brands. Then on the food side, we have juices, Real, Active, Homemade, which are our flagship brands. So we are basically cutting across 32 categories and close to around 1,500 SKUs. And when we talk about organized retail, we have seen a lot of spurt coming in through e-commerce, through modern trade. And let me tell you that there has been an immense demand of healthcare products, which we saw during the first wave, when the lockdown started happening from March onwards last year. We saw a huge spurt in health and wellness products. We saw a depression in the personal care category because people were not venturing out. They were not very conscious about their looks. People were working from home. And we saw a decline in home care as well as personal care categories, but we saw a huge surge in health care categories. Now during second wave, we again saw, change in consumer behavior. And this time we saw that, the consumer has started venturing out, and the shopper has actually started, visiting the store and also purchasing, across different channels, may it be a neighborhood kirana, or may it be a, modern trade hypermarket, or a supermarket, or a small, retail format. So basically the consumer is actually cutting across all these channels, if you ask me. So there has to be an ecosystem, where we have as a company thrived, because we are highly proliferated in terms of categories, products, SKUs on one hand, and channels on the other hand. So while you have modern trade as the biggest organized retail channel, you have e-commerce, which is growing by 5x, 10x times, and is looking very promising to us in the last 2 years, especially. And we see more growth coming in from e-commerce going forward. We also see a lot of spurt in the eB2B segment, which is again a very sprawling segment right now. We have huge potential there. So players like Udaan, ShopX, Shop Kirana are the ones who are doing wonderful business, and they have identified the gaps in the retail market and in the conventional trade system, which they are planning to tap and to their advantage. And I think it is the retailer who has become the cynosure of all eyes. And every retailer today, every player today is trying to get a fatter share of the wallet of this retailer, which is also called the neighborhood kirana. So I think for us, it has been a great journey, a lot of learnings, how the consumer behavior changes over a period of time. A lot of sale was contextual. So now in this year, when we have seen, COVID declining, especially now, we are hopeful that, we should be able to grow, homogeneously across all the categories going forward.
Grow homogeneously across all the categories going forward. I think that's the key takeaway, because the playground has changed, and we'll
That's
come
right.
to that point. Rahul, your opening remarks, please. Yeah.
Hi everyone. Thanks,
Hello.
Hitesh, for calling for this wonderful forum. I think, like everybody said, and I will not be repetitive, I think what both Amitabh and Aditya said makes sense. That's what every company did. I think I'll tell you about Godrej, where I am heading the organized trade vertical. I think one thing which the company did was about prioritization of the SKUs, of the brands which the company wants to sell. Now, what it did is that everybody knew that there were heavy shortage of labor and there were high demand in the market. And hence there was a certain requirement which has to be met in a shorter time. Now that can happen only by prioritization and Pareto on the production lines. I think that was done. And it done in a manner that we are able to meet the demand of the market in a profitable manner. Godrej had a very good year last year across GT, MT, e-commerce channels where the growth was healthy. The business primarily is into household insecticide, where Goodnight, Hit, these brands comes in, and also in the fresheners and the hair color. Incidentally, the hair color category grew. It grew immensely. And now we correlate that everybody wants to look good while on the Zoom call. Yeah, and hence that category grew up. People are using washrooms more number of time being at home, and hence the home freshener also grew. And increased attention towards health did help the insecticides portfolio. Now I'll tell you what has happened. While these are numbers which I can talk about, I think the biggest thing which has happened was the digital consciousness was growing in India. So people were at home. They were either watching TV or they were opening laptop. They were reading news. They were doing Google, Insta, Facebook, everything. Now what happened was that people started researching and finding out things which are good for them, for their health, and what they should be doing. And hence, it became an inflection point in this entire journey of the kind of portfolio we are. where people started thinking that, maybe we would be using our washroom more. So, let's just have the right kind of fragrance. We would be, there would be, now you'll see more cockroaches inside the store, in the house, right? So let's have those hit or anti-roach gel things in place. So people became more aware, also because they were reading a lot. I know, incidentally, I was reading this article a couple of months back that right now there is an age in India of influencer based purchase. So shoppers right now, the consumers and hence the shoppers, are actually deciding their, around 56% of the shoppers are deciding their purchases after being digitally informed. Just think about all of us, when we have to order food, we check for those reviews on Zomato or Swiggy, right? That's one kind of the review we do check. So those things are happening, and that's the tipping point. And this entire digital evolution in the consciousness of shoppers has helped in shifting the curve. And like Shiv Jyoti was saying, that will it be a zero-sum game? And it is not. Trust me, if, and I'm sounding a little off on this thing, if this pandemic wouldn't have happened, maybe attention to some of the categories, like Aditya said, like Amitabh said, the Ayurveda led category, the more herbal category, that wouldn't have happened. People would have stayed the same way, right? So in a way, it was an emergence of certain categories, and e-commerce played a very big role. Yeah, the top line follows. So we are seeing a certain stability in the business, which spiked up during the pandemic.
I think Rahul, excellent opening remarks from all three of you. And I know this was very interesting to know hair color category growing. And for a person like me who have done more than 100 webinars, I think that is the most relevant one. And I can relate to these even home fresheners, because in one of our webinars last year only, people are staying more, eating more. So all the junk food, and with due respect to everyone, the so-called junk food, is supposed to not to be. And Aditya is here with Kellogg's and the healthier food, which has been promoted. Ayurveda has been promoted. So there is a blessing in disguise in the last whatever happened in the last 1.5 years. But the key thing which we are discussing today also is you all are managing trade, modern trade, and you are managing e-commerce as well. Now, how much, what were the impediments? Because we heard Aditya that, and not only any particular company, I think all the companies were taken aback with the kind of demand, especially from the FMCG category that came in. And the supply chain were one of the major issues. Keeping all these things in mind, the customer has changed. So the first point, we will continue with the customer thing, Aditya, that the customer has changed. How that has happened and impacted your planning, or maybe your delivery to the customer. And for this, the question here is, you have, and all of you have all the channels available with you. When did you realize that e-commerce is now the key one to target, or key one to focus on? Because modern trade was always existing. So Aditya, we can start with that what was that moment that made this realization and transformation came in for all of you subsequently?
See, one thing which I told you, that the second wave impact was different, right? And the first major difference which we all saw, and I'm sure Rahul and Amitabh will echo with that, is that this year in 2021, there was no pantry loading stuff which we witnessed, which we saw in the year 2020, which also I think resulted into a lot of disruption on the demand supply side, right? We saw a sudden spike, and then, we were out of the shelves, and then to get back to the shelves, there was a lot of lead time, in between there were strike days, lockdowns, etc. However, we were better prepared, and I think one phenomena which helped us in terms of gearing up was the absence of pantry loading, number one. Now, second phenomena which I think, that in fact, 11% of all the social media, accounts, and I was just going through, and we witnessed that all social account media started out of that population, 11% started in just the last 12 months. So we already were witnessing that there is a huge population which is spending a lot of time on smartphones, right? We already have a 70 or 40 kind of million smartphones with us. We also saw digital trends wherein people were spending almost 2x of the time versus the television, right, on smartphones. And 60% of them actually went through some kind of online shopping, right? So those were the initial reads which were picked up by all the companies, and we saw that the sudden spike which started coming in the on the e-commerce side, even in the modern trade, the brick and mortar side of it, our customers, we saw a tale of two halves actually. There were certain phenomena which was like tailwinds for us. There was another thing which were headwinds, and I would like to mention that hypermarkets, for example, it was a part of a headwind which we all faced, right? They went a lot of restrictions, right? There were a lot of restrictions there. The sales came down. There was compact, which Rahul was talking about, compact assortment and all, which with the store started doing that in order to work with maximum productivity. But there was equally, there was a tailwind which erupted within that modern trade customer side, which were twofold. One, on the omni-channel e-commerce side, which we all saw that, and because of it, the disruption was a little lower with the customers which were better prepared on omni-channel e-commerce infrastructure. Secondly is the super formats. As people wanted convenience and near to their place, they did not want to go really shopping at those times. So chains which were having a large super formats and convenience stores as a part of their network, I think they benefited a lot during that time. So these were two things, I think, arresting headwinds and tapping tailwinds became a part of the strategy for all the food companies. That's what I believe.
Thanks, Aditya. Amitabh, you would like to add on this, please?
Yeah, I completely agree with what Aditya said, that there was a lot of difference in the consumer behavior which we observed last year and this year. So last year, while the consumer was actually looking for immunity as one of the benefits, functional benefits, wellness as one of the functional benefits, immunity was topping the charts, as a priority, need of the consumer to beat the virus and to be ready to, resist the infection. We saw that, in this year, the category of healthcare, because of the, high sale which we did last year, it was very unpredicted, right? We were not aware that we would require, a certain, flush of products. And we were not prepared. And because most of our products are natural, we had anticipated that, probably if this happens, then the kind of procurement which we did a lot of forward buying. And that is what, sailed us through during the season. And I think our supply chain, really helped us. They went beyond proportion to fuel the demand in the market. There was a huge demand we experienced last year of healthcare, year, though it was a black swan event, but still, I think we had a lot to learn from this. And another key difference which Aditya also called out was that, hypermarkets and modern trade supermarkets were shut most of the time during last year, same period. However, in this year, the markets opened up in mid-May, and the stores opened up, and the shopper had the courage of actually venturing out and buying, from the modern trade store. Another key, point which I would like to make here is that there is a very thin line now which divides modern trade from e-commerce, because most of the brick and mortar retailers today are actually reaching out to the consumer, and they are also doing door delivery. In fact, Big Bazaar, Future Retail has started 2-hour delivery. JioMart is also bringing up efficiencies. They are becoming efficient every day. So there is a very thin line now which divides brick and mortar retail from e-commerce. So I think it's all new commerce. That's the new normal.
Yes, Amitabh. And I'm going to ask this next question, but I'll just take some remarks from Rahul on the previous question, and then we move to this one that brick and mortar versus e-commerce now has the consumer has got the choice. So Rahul, would you like to add something on what Aditya and Amitabh said? Then we move to this question of ours.
Yeah, I think what I will do, I'll mix this thing with the question which you are asking.
Okay, that's a good one.
Yeah, it'll correlate. So while Amitabh and Aditya said the right things about the hyperlocal model and how shoppers are buying, I just want to touch upon that why shoppers are buying. There has to be a reason and the role which e-commerce will play, right? And hence the point which you are going to make about the brick and mortar store and the e-commerce bit, right? So the thing is that we did a research a few years back to find out when people are shopping in a modern trade store, okay, why are they shopping? And for what are they shopping? But because we see a larger pack, seeing a more saliency, more contribution to modern trade store. What we saw is that, and back that time I was in other organization, Britannia, and one thing came out was that 67% of the people who are shopping were out of stock at home. So while there's a parameter where we chase that out of stock in the shelf, there's another parameter out of stock at home, right? And hence what this entire COVID pandemic did is that with this e-commerce thing rising, now people are getting more shopping occasions. Now when Big Bazaar says that, shopping in, you deliver in 2 hours, or JioMart says supply in 30 minutes. So let me tell you my case. I buy from, rather my wife, we buy from GT. We buy from Reliance, the brick and mortar, GT and Reliance. We buy from Swiggy, Instamart, and we buy from Big Basket. Now what we do is that, and I realize that the moment these more and more e-commerce options are coming in, my spending has increased. Now what is happening? My choices and my impulses are getting a solution instantly. If I'm craving at 11 o'clock in the night for a chocolate, I have to just do a click and Instamart gives it. I don't use Instamart in the daytime. Daytime urgent requirement is GT store, where I either work from home. So I go down and buy stuff because I know it'll take time. And when it's during weekend, go to Reliance and buy stuff. So what I realized that, and that is something which comes out from research also, that our average spends value is increasing. There's more number of range which is entering the household. So like we used to measure range inside the store, I think range inside the house is increasing. And hence what digital thing is doing is that it is increasing the occasions, rather providing more occasions to buy and giving answer to all those occasions for people to spend. And that's the biggest change which is happening. Look at JioMart. In case of JioMart, you don't have a minimum bill value, right? You buy a certain stuff and then they deliver in half an hour. Your impulses are getting an answer. And another interesting read I'll tell you on this thing is that, the digital consciousness in India is increasing. There was a research which was being done a few months back by BCG. It said that this entire pandemic has accelerated the digital evolution by 3 years globally. And only for Asia Pacific, it is 4 years. Now understand, Asia Pacific has got China also, which was already far ahead. So in India, it will be 5-6 years of acceleration which has happened. And India right now is in the digital advanced stage, still far below UK and the China, still more to go. So we are only seeing the tip of the iceberg. I think our impulses are getting an answer to stock up for an answer for out of stock at home, and hence stock up. So yeah, that is where the role of brick and mortar and the shopper also lies.
So since this was a reverse thing, let me go to Amitabh and then Aditya. So Amitabh, you did mention about e-commerce versus the modern trade, and taking the clue from what Rahul said, today the shopper has a daytime requirement, a evening or a nighttime requirement, a weekday and a weekend requirement. and all these are fulfilled by different channels. And here is where e-com comes in. We'll take all the parameters of digital India and mobile penetration and availability, choices, brands, etc. But where does this lead to? So if is the modern trade, is the brick and mortar losing the sale to e-commerce? Is this what we should infer, Amitabh?
No, I don't think so. So I think I would agree with Rahul. He made a very valid point in saying that today, a consumer shops as per occasions. The more occasions you can create, or the more occasions are created for the shopper or the consumer, the sales will keep on expanding. The demand will keep on expanding. So today, there is a nighttime requirement, there is a daytime requirement, there is a pre-lunch requirement, there is a post-lunch requirement. There are so many occasions, and these occasions are created by the retailers themselves, right? Apart from that, you also have, the events which they do, the big days which they do. Reliance, if you see, is operating Golden Event. They are doing so many events, Power of Nine. There are so many events which they do for the shoppers. And all of this benefit and the value actually goes to the shopper, whether he or she purchases from JioMart or from a neighborhood Reliance Fresh or a Reliance Smart format, he still gets the same advantage. So I think there has to be a very healthy coexistence of offline and online retail, which has to exist. The consumer is actually shopping from all the channels. As I said, the consumer is spoiled for choice, and she has the right of actually shopping from a neighborhood kirana or a hyper format or a super format or an Amazon or a Big Basket or a Swiggy Instamart, which are instant gratification formats, which can actually help you with almost everything which you want instantly within 30 minutes. So I think a lot of options available for the Indian shopper now, to choose from. So I think it will be a healthy coexistence. It will be wrong on my part to say that e-commerce is going to snatch share from modern trade or vice versa. It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. E-commerce is not going to snatch the share. Aditya, is this statement right, wrong? There is no right and wrong as such. But what is your view? How are they placed now? And the reason we are discussing this is it's not because if we get an answer that the numbers that we saw and all the debate that we are having, the consumer behavior that is changing shows that e-commerce is rising. Okay, now has the pie increased or the pie has remained the same and it has shifted from a brick and mortar to e-commerce? So Aditya, your views on this?
One thing I think which I really echo with Rahul, and it's a brilliant point which he touched upon, is that e-commerce has helped increasing the frequency of purchases, right? So there are more occasions now for purchases, which we are all seeing that that e-commerce has a bigger role to play. On your question, yes, we witnessed some kind of flow which flew from modern trade, brick and mortar to e-commerce, and then again a sort of offsetted. But I think sum total is actually they are helping the the entire pie to grow, right? If I look at the numbers also, the e-commerce as a percentage of retail sales in 2020 was just 7% in India, right? If I compare it versus the developed nations of China, which is sitting at 30 odd percentage, US at 20 odd percentage, I think we have a long journey to cover. So I don't think that it will snatch away any kind of share. I think it will help overall the industry to grow and create. At the same time, I think there is a lot of responsibility on the brick and mortar stores to create a wow experience, because no longer gone are those days now that you have created a brick and mortar store and it's done. It's like you need to create experience. If a person is coming to your store, he or she is parking their car and coming to your store, you need to really educate your people. You need to create some sort of experience which can create a delight for the shop. So that will certainly evolve, I think, as we go on.
Okay, Rahul. This question is that e-commerce is giving a jolt or is not giving a jolt to GT.
So e-commerce B2C is not giving any jolt. Rather, it is helping in penetration of the brand. Rather, what most of the companies have started doing is that they have started curating different brands, price point, variants to cater to the shopper's need. Last 1.5 years also has given enough fodder to the retailer, to the companies like ours to experiment things, because now we know that e-commerce has got a substantial volume, and then that is where we can try and experiment some variants. For example, recently we have launched easy detergent pods. It's a washing machine detergent pods, which are not there in GT or MT, only in e-com. It's a captive audience, launched in Amazon, and we are seeing good results. Basis the reviews, now we're going to extend it in modern trade. So I think it is really helping if utilized the right way. Yes, certainly we are seeing some concerns from the B2B front, where the likes of Jumbotail or Udaan, sometimes for the revenue increase, there are some leakage which happens. I will not say a completely zero-sum game, because no company in India does direct distribution to all the outlets, right? So, and hence, utilize in the right way to build our nascent categories and non-KVIs. They add value to the overall top line. So e-commerce actually is two parts. B2C certainly helping a lot. B2B, some flux is still there, and B2B is exactly in the same level during 2005, 2007, when cash and carry era was starting, and there was price cuts and everything which was happening. That is something which we are facing. So that is one bit. Otherwise, it is adding to top line. The only thing is that retailer and the supplier both have to be on the common table, discuss, agree, disagree on the mode of operation. Top line will follow because consumer base is so high. Look, खरीद रहे हैं.
Okay, top line will follow consumer basis. I want to point this particular thing, that all three of you are brands. Okay, now if I have to ask to start with Rahul again from a retailer's perspective, and you can answer in for two kinds of retailers, small and big. I'm not using the word medium because the definition anyways is not there, but small I would like to define. Let's say small is a one store owner and who is selling all this, and a big one is let's talk about the modern trade. So from their perspective, Rahul, Amitabh and Aditya, is there a difference? Because you are telling there is no difference because you guys are brands, but what about them, and what do you see and perceive in the current, as far as the current trends are going, and what do you foresee in the near future?
Okay, see, from the angle of the bigger retailers, right? I think what we are seeing is that for the retailers who have already gone into the omni-channel presence, right? So, for example, for the likes of Reliance, right, we are seeing a good contribution moving towards the B2C platform. A good amount of consumption and purchase happening. Now, what is happening is that we are getting a better mix to target our marketing mix, using the keyword search, targeting some amount of our new brands, different variants to create some excitement. We're getting that thing. Right. So there is a good partnership happening with the bigger retailers to explore that thing. The big retailer who doesn't have online presence, rather omni-channel presence, are facing the heat. And that is why some of the big retailers, I'll not take the name, one of the biggest retailer in India is now also trying to expand itself in the e-commerce in a much more professional manner. Right. So if you have omni-channel, you're there. If you don't have, slightly losing out on the game. Now coming to the smaller store. The single retailer store you're saying. Now I'll tell you from the personal experience. Now these all retailers are under a certain program for every company. They are called NAMTs or SAMTs or some other names, right? They are feeling a certain pressure that what if tomorrow my shopper who stays in the next building starts buying from some other retailers online platform just on app. So I'm losing my shopper base, right? And that's a genuine concern, no doubt. But at the same time, one thing should be very clear to the retailers. If you don't evolve, you're out of the game, totally out. Now, what is evolution? One of the questions which came in the panel right now is that does having online presence make sense for single store retailer? Absolutely not. I think e-commerce means digital. You can also have a WhatsApp presence. You can also have a home delivery presence. The point is that how quick you are able to meet the need of the shopper. If you are still a single store retailer and you've got a very good home delivery option, very good way you can communicate. Because so now I shifted to Mumbai. Before that, I was in Bangalore. There are a couple of retailers nearby. They have a WhatsApp group, and they say you post what you want within half an hour, grocery, vegetables, milk, whatever you want, it'll be there. Then why should I go do all those click in a particular Swiggy app or somewhere else when the solution is there? So the single store retailer has to evolve. So evolution cannot happen only at shopper angle. The retailer also has to evolve. Then only it will be a win-win. Who doesn't evolve? Darwin's law will lose out.
Exactly. And from a WhatsApp perspective, we have seen how retailers across the country have used WhatsApp in the last year and even today. Amitabh, your view on this, please.
I think Rahul said it all. We have seen, the smaller retailers evolving slowly. We have seen the bigger retailers evolving very fast. Examples are in front of us. So today, as I said earlier, the consumer is spoiled for choice. The consumer wants instant gratification. The consumer wants more occasions. The consumer is looking for different kind of unique offerings across formats. So if a consumer wants to buy an imported product which is only available on Amazon, Amazon is the choice. If they want to buy fresh vegetables, Big Basket is the choice. They may also go to a nearby Mother Dairy outlet, Safal outlet to buy their groceries if they want to venture out and really experience, the touch feel factor. So I think he's rightly said that, if the retailer has to evolve and has to evolve very fast and has to, devise ways and means possible of reaching out to the consumer in the fastest possible time. Consumer is not willing to wait. They want the best deals, they want the best value, and they want the shortest possible delivery time. These are the three factors which are critical, success factors, in retail. So any retailer who fulfills these three criterions is the one who's going to win the race. It's survival of the fittest now.
Sure, Amitabh. Aditya, your views on this before I go to the next question.
Nothing. I believe Amitabh and Rahul, they have captured all the points.
Sure. So the second question is related to this one only. What would be the percentage of sales online, e-commerce or WhatsApp or whatever technology you use the word digital, and that's the right word, is for big and small as far as your brands are concerned, Rahul? So for example, for a small brand, a Kirana guy is selling, let's say 2%, 1%, 5%, 10% through digital, that is online, WhatsApp, e-com, etc. And a big guy may be having their own apps or XYZ. And this is an FMCG category, not very much on the e-com, but I'm talking more from a digital perspective. Rahul, what percentage?
Trust me, Hitesh, very difficult to ascertain.
Okay.
Because every month we are seeing a different flux. Fluctuations are there. But what we are trying to measure is that how much business we are getting from e-commerce versus to our total company business. What we're seeing that is increasing. Okay, now it has started coming in the range of only B2C, I'm saying, e-commerce B2C. Thereabouts of 5 to 7% of the company revenue. I think that's a significant shift because this used to be across industry in the range of 2% thereabouts, 1.5 2 years back. I think that's a right measure for now.
Okay. So from 2% to 5 to 7% is a humongous growth, Amitabh, what about you?
So absolutely. So I think the numbers are matching.
Okay.
So that's how it is. And however, if you talk about the contribution of digital, to a retailer, then I think it will be close to around 15 to 20%. So those retailers who are using omni-channel, who are using the digital medium, let's say a mobile app or a web shop, they are basically getting almost 10 to 15% of their sales through this medium. So digital is fast catching up, and it will speed up even faster because nobody wants to. Time is money.
Time is money.
So
Excellent.
time is money. So I see a lot of consolidation which may happen for the brick and mortar retailer going forward. That there'll be a huge pressure on costs. You know, a lot of optimization on costs, which is bound to happen. And obviously, if the retailer is under pressure, the pressure ultimately comes on to brands because they want a better margin, they want better, deals, better visibility, and stuff like that. So I think the journey is going to be very challenging going forward for brands as well.
But Amitabh, I would just like to say in the previous points that we discussed. So me as a consumer wants to get a hair oil or a cornflakes or for that matter, any other product. If not the retailer, not the Kirana guy whom I'm going, I'll buy it online. So from a brand perspective, you don't lose out or the brand doesn't lose out because for the brand, the medium or the channel changes. The product is anyways being sold.
Yeah, that's right. But yes, as Rahul said, Rahul made a very beautiful point saying that, there are certain products which are incubated in e-commerce on online. There are certain products which are incubated there. So innovation, so e-commerce today, or let's say the online platforms today, are the ones where companies are trying to launch differentiated products which are more, unique in nature, and they are not the run-of-the-mill kind of products. So there are so many of them. I mean,
Sure.
you can like for example, personal care products, hair grooming products, hair care products,
Sure.
and healthcare products. There are so many of them. So apple cider vinegar is one example in our case,
Yeah.
where we seeded that product into e-commerce and now it's modern trade.
Sure. Aditya, your views on that? We are talking about the percentage of sales, and e-com and for small and big, and then
For us, it is a couple of percentages notches up,
Okay.
higher. And we saw 100% plus kind of, multiple X factors in e-commerce in terms of growth. This is excluding the omni-channel e-commerce because it is really, really difficult as of now to track how much is omni e-commerce contributing to the retailer side. But that's definitely growing. I completely go with Rahul and Amitabh. They've already shared their experiences in their respective categories. But e-commerce, there are a lot of insights which we are getting right now. And particularly for a brand manager, now it is very, very easy to get insights for their brands, right? Whether to go and a lot of decision, database decision making. I think this is in place because of e-commerce these days.
Sure. Aditya, you did mention that, you did launch a 10 rupee cornflakes, and even Rahul said they had to launch a specific brand only for e-com. Now, this is what, adopting the change. And you give the reasons, Aditya, that way. But no, these are something which is specific, Rahul, to e-commerce. And then you said you're going to subsequently take it to the brick and mortar stores also. But I'm talking vice versa. And that's where the gap is that, again, the e-commerce business is, taking away. And does this affect the planning and the strategy for the brand? Because the dynamics are changing. The pie remains the same, or maybe the pie is growing. But my channels from here, because that affects my planning, that affects my production, my supply chain, and the margin pressures which Amitabh spoke of. So all these things are permutation and combination that a brand has to think of. How are you coping up with this?
See, the current scenario of e-com, modern trade, and GT, they selling a similar brand, okay, is creating a certain extra work for everyone in the company because the margin profile is very different in all the three channels, and hence we have to have the right price point and the pack mix so that it is profitable at the kind of TOTs we work with each of the channel, because the cost to serve has to also lead to profitability for the company, because we have to work in a manner that is profitable, right? And hence it requires a lot of extra work, and where we try to extrapolate certain contribution for future, that this particular brand we're going to, so we play our mix very clearly that this mix will sell in this channel, and hence this will be the weighted average profitably we'll make with a certain contribution mix factored in for the future, so that we are able to put our price points in the right manner. So you are right, the same product may be selling, but the MRP will be different, the grammage will be different, maybe in some cases the brand variant is different.
Sure.
However, the overall brand architecture remains the same.
Okay. Aditya, your views on this?
See, affordability in a general trade environment would be maybe, let's say, a rupees 10, 5 or 10, which becomes rupees 50 in terms of brick and mortar and rupees 100 in terms of e-com. Those kind of things are also playing, and you will find a lot of multi-pack strategies, playing in each of these respective channels to address to. And the point, we are all cognizant about the cost to serve, right? And our profitability also at the same time, because we are supposed to deliver the channel wise profitability, right?
Absolutely.
We are the custodians, and just by selling all affordable, and our cost to serve are so high. So I think those are the price ranges which every organization is now defining for themselves, that what could be affordable price range in the general trade environment, in the brick and mortar, and in the e-commerce side.
Okay, Amitabh, your views on this, please.
So I think consumer is looking for different options across different channels. So let's say that if we talk about e-commerce, consumer is looking at a very different offering, a unique offering, something which is more indulgent, more inviting. At the same time, there are consumers which are looking for value deals. So you would have a consumer who wants to buy a pack of 5-liter, cooking oil, which is offering a better margin or a better discount compared to a modern trade retail store. So they will do the comparison and they will place the order accordingly. So there are two kinds of consumers which I feel, and one who looks for value all the time, and one who looks for unique offering, and the third kind of consumer is who looks for both.
Okay.
So value seeker come also looking for differentiated offering, multi-packs, let's say something which is not available in modern trade brick and mortar or a general trade environment, would actually go for online shopping on one of these platforms.
Okay, I have two questions, one on D2C and other is on the technology, innovation, etc. Amitabh, on the D2C front, where do you see the D2C model going, at least from the FMCG perspective? Because
So
we've seen that D2C is going to touch close to 100 billion in the next couple of years, 2 or 3. And the buzzword around D2C currently is extremely high.
D2C, basically is applicable or is more apt for single brand retailers or brands which are basically, highly evolved and have a very highly differentiated portfolio or a highly differentiated mix. Okay, so let's say when we talk about brands like Wow and we talk about Mamaearth, these are the brands which are evolving. I would say even Dyson air purifiers, right? So they have their own D2C, Apple for that matter of fact. So many of these brands which are iconic are also going the D2C mode. For FMCG, I think it's slightly complex. It's not easy to go D2C way because there is no proposition. What are you offering so special for the Indian consumer? Your brands are already available across all the channels. So why should a consumer opt for your brand? So you'll have to evolve on a very different model. It cannot be the same stereotyped FMCG category mix. Okay, so let's say you want to be very clear that, okay, fine, I want to go Ayurveda.
Yeah.
Way, right. So for Ayurveda, I want to set up a D2C. Like what Kama has done, like what, there are so many other players which are into Ayurveda, right? Live Veda, and, there are so many of them. So you got to be very focused. It cannot be that, you are into multiple categories and, the same old stereotype stuff. The run-of-the-mill stuff will not work here. You got to be very, you got to be highly positioned and highly evolved in terms of product offering. Your price points have to be better. That the consumer should should see a lot of value in the product.
Sure. It has to be highly differentiated. Rahul,
highly
your
differentiated, yes,
yeah,
highly
yeah.
differentiated and highly evolved.
Okay, fair enough. Rahul, your views on the D2C model, please.
See, I second what Amitabh has said. I think nothing more which I can further add to his point is that ultimately it's about shopper. The way the shopper is evolving, the shopper behaviors are that, and hence basis that our price point, our price mix has to be there. It has to be limited set of brands, limited price points, which has to be factored in and then played across. So it's a captive audience which are there, which we are targeting, and hence certain variants or certain smaller brands which we can make big or we can try out. That is something which we should experiment with this thing. It's a very risky proposition because ultimately it's the shopper which makes the choice, and it has to be coupled up with a good marketing mix. It can't happen. It's not like general trade or empty where you just put the stock on the shelf and expect a shopper to come and then demand. You have to actively do marketing on the platform and to make it really big. And hence it has to be done in a very smart manner, in a finite space, in a smaller scale, because these things are still evolving. It has not evolved to the highest level. And hence the risk is there. But yeah, some steps should be made along with marketing mix.
Okay. Aditya, your views, please.
D2C is a very cost heavy model as of now for an FMCG brand. It affects the brand P&L, very, very severely if not tackled rightly. And if I'm a brand manager, I'll weigh my options. What as rightly pointed out by Amitabh, that what is the uniqueness in terms of offering. And these days, when you are getting a lot of platforms in terms of making your products available, making your assortment available, then I don't see any particular need for investing behind D2C so heavy. Now, see, situations are changing fast, or probably if we are able to create a very, very cost-effective model, only then brands will be enthused towards a direct D2C, right?
Sure.
So that's from my side.
Okay. Now the last question about the technology part. Any technology innovations that you have done as an example, or you could do during this last 1.5 years. That is one, or maybe what you see that a retailer today has to do from the e-commerce perspective. So what would be those? One, the technology imperative, and second is the technology innovation. Rahul, we can start with you, please.
Sorry, I missed that out.
So what is the technology innovation, or what is the technology imperative for a retailer today from an e-commerce perspective?
I think for the retailer, I must tell you that one biggest thing which they should do is to have a very good solution to link their delivery solution to their buying. Right on the platform, when you purchase is easy. Of course, the navigation on the tool has to aid easy purchase, but then the delivery solution, that is the biggest one. Their tie-up should be able to solve the need of the shopper, because they're advertising. You get in X minutes, you get the thing, right? And as that technology enablement with the logistics partner should be there. But while you're asking for retailer, I must tell you from the supply side also. I think from the supplier side, like company like ours, we should also evolve our logistics solutions to be able to supply the needs of the retailer. See, when a retailer is experimenting on online, we should not expect them to buy a truckload of stock, right? And hence we should have the right technology platform at our end to be able to service their smaller needs. So recently, one of the retailer has started the JIT model, one of the biggest retailer in India. And it is in 4 or 5 DCs of theirs, they are doing it just in time. Now, their model requires us to transform our own internal technology, especially from the logistics front, so that we can service it. And if we don't do that, we are missing out. And if we don't do that, we will not make their model successful, right? And hence, I think I feel the larger need is the logistics technology improvement, the logistics bit on both the sides to meet the needs.
Fair enough. Aditya, your views, please, from a technology perspective for retailer as well as for the brand supplier.
There are two things which we have done, and I would like to quote something which, as an organization, we have done. One is the convenience for our set of retailers. So, especially in the general trade environment, we developed an app, and for those pandemic times, and now, in fact, we are seeing you're saying something?
Yeah, please carry on. I could not hear, sorry.
Okay. So I was saying that one aspect is, in the general trade environment, we developed an app for the retailers, particularly, just to give a choice in terms of, if a DVR salesman is not able to come there, then they can just go through app and they can order. They should not be missing out, right, on in terms of availability of our stocks. Second is, I think, on the demand side, demand and supply logistics side, we are working on EDIs, with our customers, right? So there's a lot of electronic data interchange which is happening between our customers, and which the organization is currently working with, so that we can really have a robust demand and supply side, in order to serve the customers. So our packaging, because the demand, if we are able to get it right, I think 95% of the problems of the retailers will be solved, right? Because everybody asks for a good fill rate, right? So on that front, I think the technology is really taking a notches above.
Okay. Yeah. Amitabh, your views on the technology front, please.
I think we are, as I told you, that our operations and our portfolio is slightly complex, because we span across more categories and more SKUs. So I think one of the most challenging projects which we are working on is demand fulfillment, because it's very difficult to plan demand in these kind of circumstances. So we are using various tools, statistical tools, analytics tools, which can help us to forecast demand accurately. Because only if we forecast demand accurately will we be able to service the demand. So first comes the accurate forecasting, with almost 90% plus accuracy, which is a big challenge. And at the same time, then translating it into a 85 to 90% fulfillment, which is the fill rate, like what Aditya said. These are the two main capabilities which are required for any brand today to compete in the modern trade environment. I think we are striving hard to achieve this goal, what I just mentioned. So I think we are almost 50% done. This project has been on for, say, about 7 months now. So I think we should be able to achieve the desired outcome very soon.
Okay. Demand forecasting and increasing the fill rate. With this,
demand planning and supply fill rates.
Supply fill rates and demand planning. Sure. Thanks, Amitabh. With this, friends, we will come to an end. Before we do that, this will be I would request all our three panelists to give their final comments. What they feel about the e-commerce opportunity in the current scenario and the nearby future. We'll start with Rahul.
So I think it was a lovely forum to connect. I think it was not about only my personal views. I think the views of Aditya, Amitabh, and even the Shiv Jyoti was pretty nice, giving diverse ideas. More importantly, I think in the last 1.5 years, with so much of work from home and limited interaction with people, I think it's a very welcome conference to have a forum to meet people outside the scope of our own company. So very nice to come on board. I think it was lovely to catch up with everyone.
Okay. Thanks, Rahul. Aditya.
See, I think it's with the invent of digital commerce, we all are supposed to unlearn and learn, right? And such forums will certainly help all of us in terms of unlearning and learning, right? Just what Rahul said, I would also say that, the co-panelists, the points which all of them shared, I think I am taking back a lot of learnings with me. Likewise, if I am able to add value to this discussion, this would be wonderful. But I think e-commerce, we should all be very, very optimistic about it. I think it is not only giving us to build new occasions per se, but also is becoming very, very crucial in terms of insights generation, which organizations, which brands seek for, right? So we should all be very, very optimistic around e-commerce. And I think it will only help the overall pie to grow further in the foods and packaged food space.
Okay, thank you, Aditya. Amitabh, please.
I think Rahul and Aditya nailed it, and I completely second their views. So I think e-commerce is there to stay. It's the new normal, and we have to adapt, and ultimately it is serving the purpose, our need, our convenience. So I think it's there to stay. So we all have to keep pace with the fast changing landscape, and it will take a lot of might, a lot of changes, a lot of transformation to happen. So I am thankful to Aditya, Rahul, you, and the entire RAI team for this panel discussion, where we could share so much from each other. A lot of learnings.
Thank you, Amitabh, for those kind words. Thanks, Rahul and Aditya. From my perspective, I did learn something about e-commerce from an FMCG perspective, definitely about the consumers, the consumer insights, how you guys coped up during the last 18 months. You did speak about technology, you did speak about supply chain demand forecasting, and brands also, how you invented and introduced new brands or packages or SKUs. So all these things, ultimately are, you can say, a bundle of the necessities that were required and is required. Also, your views on the percentages growing and going northwards for e-commerce sales, and how a small retailer or a big retailer has to, cope up with from a technology perspective as far as e-commerce in India is concerned. With this, thank you very much, Rahul, Aditya, and Amitabh. It was indeed a pleasure, and we will definitely meet very soon in the near future. Thanks a lot.